Item number 18, resolution number 2014-246, approving the proposed expansion to the facility boundary of the Dothan landfill located at 1290 Burkett Road for approximately 536 acres.
Move to approve.
Second.
All right, before we have any discussion, we do have one gentleman who would like to speak. Mr. Lewis, I will say you have 3 minutes. Normally, because you're running for office, I wouldn't let anyone use the podium, but I know this is something you've been speaking on for years, so.
I thank you, Mayor and Commission. As you well know, that the community there chose me to be their spokesperson, and I actually called the vice spokesperson to come do this instead of myself today because of that, Mayor.
Right.
He had appointments he couldn't break.
Okay.
The community as a whole stands absolutely opposed to the continued expansion into our neighborhood. I understand the economics on this, as it's cheaper to do it there. It's not cheaper for those of us that live in the area. It depreciates our land values, our home values, the quality of life, the use of our property, and future values for our children or grandchildren to continue to use. We'll ask you to reconsider this issue and look at it long and hard. There was questions arose, these 536 acres. The property that has been purchased was about 180. Could you please tell us and enlighten us what the 536 encompasses and basically the corner boundaries? I understand they're at Burkett Road and Webb Road, back over the boundary of the Humphrey property, back across to the creek. But what properties encompasses the 536 acres? The current landfill permit, I believe, is 3506, I believe, isn't it, Jerry? And the old landfill that has been closed is 3505 or 3501. And is it including that and what properties are really encompassing the 536 acres and how do we get there?
Okay.
And
I'll answer that when you're done.
and then when we come back to this, Mayor, I really do encourage each of you to look long and hard at what you're doing to the community. We are people, we have lived here, we pay taxes. We've been very respectful of this commission and the mayor about approaching you guys and trying to take and work with you and work on it. You and the mayor, you and I have had some private conversations that remain private. As anyone you I spoke with, we try to remain them conversations private. But the property owners who could come, most of them, when I contacted them, it was such a short notice they didn't have time to rearrange their schedule. But please reconsider, look at the other options. My daughter Megan wanted me to call her and let her talk to you on a speakerphone, but I probably don't think we need to do that. She's very upset about this. She said, think about her children or grandchildren being able to be raised on the farm that my dad bought in 1955, and I purchased from my mom after Daddy died. And that's the heritage you can't replace. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Appreciate it. All right, so as far as discussion, what we're doing is taking the property we purchased, expanding it to the boundaries of the property that's already considered the landfill boundaries. So we're making it the whole boundaries is what we're doing. So is there any other discussion from the commission?
Excuse me. Mayor, I do have some concern.
I'll get with you later.
I've got some concerns, and I'll discuss this with you several times. All right. I think, as everybody knows, the landfill is in the eastern sector of the city. It impacts not only the residential area in the eastern part of the city, but it impacts on the industrial, commercial development that we may have in the eastern part of the city. It impacts on our medical complex. It impacts on ACOM. It impacts not just on the community, but on the residential area that is in development east of the city. I've got some major concerns with that. I watched the solid waste disposal develop over the last 55 years here in the city of Dothan. And we've gone round and around just east of the Ross Clark Circle. We were there before the Ross Clark Circle was completed. I was here. And we moved it just a little bit north or a little bit south and now a little bit east, but it still is in the midst of our residential area. And I've spoken with you, and I think if we can follow through with alternatives,
Right.
that this can be alleviated.
Okay.
And with a commitment and a promise, I think this commission is willing to do whatever is necessary to ensure that this waste does not remain a part of the city limits of Dothan. And let me just mention, excuse me, some of the things that some of you may be aware or may not be aware of. This not only impacts the city of Dothan, it impacts Coward, it impacts Quincy, it impacts Webb, who have connecting city limits with the city of Dothan. It could also impact Columbia, Ashford, Gordon, and Cottonwood. Those are major cities in Houston County that uses this solid waste facility, or that could use this solid waste facility. Where we are placing it now does not place it any closer to our major users, and that is, again, the Cottonwood, Ashford, Gordon, and Columbia areas. But it continues to wedge between Quincy, Calvert, Webb, the Medical Center Complex, ACOM, and the residential area that is on both sides, east of it and west of it. So I've got concerns, Mr. Mayor, and the community, but with promises of some corrective action that will not make this another 50 years, for that matter another 10 years, or for that matter another 5 years of solid waste in our city limit, I may consider going along with it.
Okay, thank you, sir.
Yeah,
Any
comment,
other-
Mayor.
Okay.
This expansion on 1290 Burkett Road at the 536 acres, this is in my district, District 1. And to Mr. Lewis and to all of my constituents in my district, in that particular area, community, I am human too, okay? And I, Kevin Dorsey, I have reconsidered. I just wanted to know that, let you know that, and for that to be on the record. Thank you. No further comment.
Okay. Any other discussion? Yeah, I think that long-term, I hope our city will look at a recycling program like other communities have that takes 80–90% of the solid waste and it doesn't go in the landfill. And I believe that is our next step, and that's what Commissioner and I are talking about. Obviously, no one wants a landfill, even though it's been there 50 or 60 years. This is by far the best next step, but long-term, we do need to come up with another solution. I agree with that. So if there's, I'd like to call for a vote.
Mayor,
Okay.
specifically, what are we doing? Just identifying the boundary lines?
That's
today?
all.
Right, you're just
Why-
expanding the boundary lines.
Okay. Is there a reason for that as far as the permit process goes?
Basically, we're just including the new property plus some additional, the pit where we get dirt now, right, Jerry?
The city owns various parcels that are contiguous now. And this 536 or so acres is all the contiguous property that the city owns that has been identified at one point or another as relating to the landfill. We had 120 acres that we started back in the, I guess, the mid-'70s operating, and then an 80 acres that we started operating in 90. We bought the Ennis property maybe close to 25 years ago. We've used it for mining dirt for cover for the most part. And then we just purchased 184 acres or so from the Miss Humphrey. And that's where that whole thing comes together. But it's all land that touches each other.
Right, but the purpose of this vote is just to identify, we're changing some boundary lines and.
As part of the prescriptive
Permit.
order of
Okay.
ADM's advancing a permit of
And we're in the
expansion.
design phase now for
Yes, sir.
the
Yes, sir.
expansion.
Yes, sir.
We still a year and a half plus?
Probably from actually having an active sale, yes, sir.
So really, this is not impacting the residents today, this vote is just more or less procedural in nature.
That's correct.
We will be
Yes, yes.
approving the final design and construction costs at a later date.
That's right. This doesn't cause anything to be happening other than put this a part of the whole footprint of our solid waste management program.
Is CDG already began the design? Began?
They're doing the testing, right?
They've been under design for a few months now.
So for clarification today, we're just reestablishing the boundary lines as a part of the process, permit process.
Right, and including some of the other properties that we own.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Now, Mr. Mayor, let me just make a comment here. And I looked at the Alabama statute 222748, and I also looked at the 6 areas that we are considering. One of the areas is relationship to existing and future industries, future transportation facilities. In your own mind, think about that. Location of existing and future large waste generating industries. Are there any in that area? Minimizing impact on public health and safety. Are we minimizing that by expanding the location where we are? Also look at the social and economic impacts. We are impacting the social, economic development of our city. So what I'm really saying and what is here and what we are looking at, all 6 of these, with the exception of cost and availability of public services. And that could be impact when I mentioned the cities that are within Houston County that are not being placed any closer to the dump. So all 6 of the criterias that have been enumerated in the statute 22, 27, 28, we are impacting those. We are having a negative impact. And we recognize that. And this statute has been there for years, and we have been doing the same thing in the same place with the same promises and no results.
Mayor, I'm not
This-
aware of any
this-
promises that have been made. All I know is we've looked at all the options, and we've all decided when we bought the property that this is the most economical and the best solution. That's what we're doing.
Right.
Nothing's changed in that regard,
Yeah,
as far as I know.
Yeah, economically speaking, it's always, seemed to be always easier to add a shed to the barn without building a new barn. And this is basically what we have done. We have moved, as I said, from one location to another location in the same way, and it's always easy to expand. But as the leaders of this city, we've got to look beyond what we are doing when we've got a development of a college, of a medical complex, of residents, of schools that are moving in the area. We have got to have a little vision, and this is what I'm asking. Mayor, just
Right.
thank you.
Thank you. Any other discussion? All in favor say yea.
Yay.
All opposed say nay.
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 Item number 19, resolution number 2014-246,